But I just wanted to get what you guys thought, what you guys' opinions are on the whole Trump presidency so far. So I know it's been very controversial, a lot of the things he's done, and he's making a lot of drastic moves and drastic changes. So it's been a super volatile, not even a month. It feels like he's been president for a year already, but it's not even been a month. So I just wanted to get what you guys' opinions are on how he's doing. In your opinion, what has he done that you like? What has he done that you don't like? And I would recommend you guys try to pick a little bit of both, right? Like, don't just say like I hate everything he's done, and don't just say I like everything he's done. I'm sure there's stuff from both sides that you can choose from, but let me just kind of pull out some posts on what I think he's doing. Obviously, I have a lot of bias on this topic, and I'm gonna maybe be more on the pro-Trump side, but let's see, right? So, Geiger Capital, who made this brilliant post, in my opinion, kind of underscores a lot of the things that I think that Trump is doing well. And people are maybe like misunderstanding him or not seeing the vision, in my opinion. But let me read this post for you. So Geiger Capital says, let's make something clear. Whether you support Trump or not, the people who thinks he's acting in an unprecedented ways by bullying other countries have zero understanding of basic American history. All of the people now feigning outrage against every consensus good president that we have ever had. They would have protested every great move America's ever made. You're against acquiring Greenland. You probably would have been against buying Alaska from Russia or the Louisiana Territory from France. You're against our president making some threats to Central American countries. Colombia wouldn't let us build a canal at first, so Roosevelt, I think this was Teddy Roosevelt, sent down new battleships to take back the Panamanian independence, who let us build the canal that we wanted. Today's Democratic Party says they love Teddy Roosevelt, but they would be screaming that he is an out-of-control madman if he was in office today. America has always been the bully. We've leveraged our economic and military power for our own benefit. The reality is Americans today and our more recent presidents have simply become softer. Yeah, and I would say I would agree with everything that Geiger said here, but maybe my opinion is not shared by everyone in this room right now. But that's just my and Geiger's opinion. And let me kind of maybe underscore some of the good things for Bitcoin and crypto specifically, since we're all Bitcoin fans here. So, you know, people are complaining that Trump got inaugurated, but Bitcoin's price has gone nowhere since he took office. So, you know, what has he really done for Bitcoin? The price hasn't gone up. And I know like the price is probably the most important thing that a lot of people care about the most. But let me just kind of speak on the fundamentals, the improving fundamentals that have taken place since Trump took office. And I believe that eventually all of these things will have a positive impact on price, maybe not immediately, but it will down the line. So what has he done for Bitcoin and crypto since taking office? So let me just name a few. So he established a crypto committee on providing clear crypto guidelines. He replaced Gary Gensler at the SEC with a pro-crypto new head, appointed David Sachs as the crypto czar, repealed SAB 121, which prevented banks from custodying crypto. So that was a law that just basically barred banks from custodying crypto for clients, and then that's gone. He pardoned Ross Ulbricht. He indicated clearly that he will not sell any of the BTC that is currently being held at the FBI, at the U.S. Marshals, and the U.S. Kind of law enforcement agencies, which is where they're holding the Bitcoin now. And I believe that that's around 200,000 BTC at the moment. So he's indicated clearly that he will not sell it. He appointed a pro-crypto or pro-Bitcoin Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. who owns, I think I read somewhere that he owns about $500,000 worth of Bitcoin ETFs in his own personal portfolio. And he launched Trump meme coin, which I know is a controversial thing, but at the very least, even if you don't like the fact that he did this, this is an indication that he will not be hostile to crypto if he's even involved in creating a meme coin himself, right? So he's not going to be cracking down on the crypto industry the same way that the Biden administration did. And he also announced a US sovereign wealth fund, which is not directly related to Bitcoin per se, but I would be surprised that if there was a 0% allocation to Bitcoin ETFs in this thing. So for those of you who don't know what a sovereign wealth fund is, it's just basically like a hedge fund, but controlled by the government and invest on the government's behalf. So, Saudi Arabia has one of the world's largest, and Norway actually has the world's largest right now. They have a lot of offshore oil in Norway, where they use the oil money to create the world's largest sovereign wealth fund. And I think it's about like $2 trillion of assets under management is huge. And if Trump, knowing Trump, he might want to try to beat that. So, if he makes a $2 trillion sovereign wealth fund and he puts 5% of that into Bitcoin, that's going to be a lot of capital inflow, right? I'm not saying that he necessarily will do that, but that's a possibility, right? So yeah, again, I am disappointed that the price did not immediately go up after he was inaugurated, but there could be a lot of reasons for that. And we shouldn't, if it had gone up, we shouldn't attribute all the positive energy to Trump, because like maybe he doesn't have that much influence. So on the same kind of flip side of the coin, you probably shouldn't blame Trump too hard that the price is not going up yet, because it's only been a few weeks since he came into office. So I posted this joke, which unfortunately a lot of people actually do this in real life, but I posted this joke on Twitter or on X on Inauguration Day. And I highly recommend anyone who, especially people who are, left-leaning pro-Democrat, please don't be this guy in real life, okay? So on Inauguration Day, it's like, Trump supporters were saying that, oh, once he comes back, he'll fix everything, and you'll see, like, he's gonna get inaugurated soon. And then the Democrats are like, okay, Trump was inaugurated at 12 noon. It is now 12:01 p.m. Why are things not fixed? Explain, right? Like, don't be this guy. Come on, just knock it off, okay? So, anyways, that's mostly what I had to say about what I think Trump is doing so far, and we can talk about things that he's done that I don't like a little bit later, because there are things, admittedly, that he's done that I don't like as well. But it's more positive than negative in my opinion. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say and what you guys' opinions are on this.
Sure, I'll take a crack at it. I think on the plus side, as the comedic relief here, I think I was watching a clip online, and it was something about Trump unbanning plastic straws in the United States of America, because it was just funny, because like, who likes paper straws? I completely agree with that. And him like openly announcing that and then wanting to have plastic straws back was completely funny for me, and it's so true. Like when I go to McDonald's, whether it be like Burger King or etc., Wendy's, like I'd prefer the plastic straw. Like the paper straw does not hit as well. So I do agree on that. But in terms of disagreements, because we do need to indicate that too as well, I think because of everything being in tariff territory, it's creating kind of a divide between Canada and the United States. And to specify, there's viral clips online indicating, oh, we need to shop Canadian, we need to buy products of Canada or anything that's made in Canada. And it's just like something else that we need to think about. And it's super annoying and complicated. I mean, it can be easy, but like, why should we go through this trouble? It's just because of the collision that's being created between the US and Canada. So I'm not really a huge fan of that. And because of the tariff situation, I think people are actually canceling their plans to go to the United States on vacation. Like, a lot of Ontarians or Quebec's people they're probably not going to make that trip to Florida just because of everything that's going on, and less people from Vancouver are going to go to Seattle just because of the situation too. I think I was watching something on Global TV, and or if it was City TV, I wasn't sure, about the duty free shops in between Vancouver and Seattle being a lot less busy, as much as like 80%, just because of the current situation that's happening right now in tariffs. I know like it's being delayed till the end of the month. Like we have that at least, but I just don't like how it's just creating such a divide, and he keeps instilling like Canada's going to be the 51st state of America. I mean, for some that's good, some it's bad, but I think just saying that's a bit bold. So I can disagree on that. And otherwise, I just like how he's getting things done. It's quite interesting, but uh, it isn't like perfect, right? And I guess we can all kind of agree on that. So these are my thoughts.
Yeah, with regards to the plastic straws thing, I think my prediction is that historians will look upon that very moment as the beginning of the golden age and not the actual inauguration. And like that's like when golden age was confirmed. But yeah, anyways, someone else.
Yeah, I think that Trump is a character. I think he has been doing a lot of stuff that is he's basically just been an agent of chaos this whole time. I would say he's been doing a lot of things that are rocking the boat, and I must confess I don't like the boat being rocked. I don't like it, whether it's a good idea, whether it's a bad idea. I don't want my boat to be rocked. I just want a nice clean Bitcoin cycle that flows straight from where we're at right now to much higher. I don't need Trump to talk about tariffs and for the market to just be like, oh, everything's on fire, things are terrible. I don't need that right now. I just need him to shut up and let the stock market fly to the moon. Instead, he insists on rocking the boat at every opportunity, it feels like. And as a result, the stock market is extremely volatile. Bitcoin and all of the Bitcoin related assets are extremely volatile, but not in a good way, not in a we'll make lots of money, but in a everything is just not very good in terms of returns. It's just lots of stress. And I just find that like that aspect has been very unenjoyable from my perspective. And I think the way he's acted towards his allies is something that will turn his allies off of him. So, for example, like with the tariffs with Canada, I think it's pretty clear that Canada is more or less aligned with the US pretty much across the board. So the way he's acting like they've been doing us such a favor with our trade deals all these years, when in reality we've been giving them oil for the discount for basically forever. I think it's pretty rich. I would say that currently we have a reasonably balanced trade deal going on with the US for the most part. The only thing that's really tipping us over in terms of like the trade deficit is purely our oil, which is like 30% of our export to them. Like, okay, you do not want the oil, we could just stop doing that and we'll have that nice balanced trade that he seems to want. So I just I think that's been unfortunate, the way that he's acted. I do think that it's been just posturing to get us to do whatever he wants, rather than an actual intention to put in tariffs. But time will tell on whether or not that is actually the case. I think that if he does put in tariffs, though, that will be extremely detrimental to both the US economy and the Canadian economy. I think this is something that will be a major problem for the West economies in general, because again, the US will be paying for those tariffs. So whether or not you like it, you will be paying to have that more expensive oil now from Canada. You'll be paying for more expensive Canadian exports, and not all of these things have an immediate American alternative to swap to that would be cheaper. So I think that those kind of aspects where he's really kind of throwing uncertainty into the markets has not been very ideal. What he's doing with Doge, I could see how it's good for the US. I'm not American, so as far as I'm concerned, it's completely whatever. I don't care. Like in terms of like I'm not I am from that may be a little bit harsh, but like it's not like the aid is coming to Canada, and it's not like I'm gonna benefit from being an American who's now saving on my taxes because a charity got cut. So I mean, maybe the world's worse off, but I mean, at the end of the day, Canada is going to be in the exact same scenario that Canada was in prior to USA getting cut. So, from my perspective, it's kind of a null point. I don't really, I could say and sit here and assert how I'm such a good person by saying how like this is terrible and the charities, the people, all these people are going to die and stuff. And I could go and talk about that, but I really don't think that the average person actually really cares about the what is or isn't happening as a result of the charities losing funding. As harsh as that sounds. So again, I don't think that's necessarily indicative of a good or bad presidency. And with regards to Andy's point on the U.S. being a bully throughout history, yeah, they've been a bully. They don't have to be a bully. I know they have been a bully. I know they can be a bully. They don't have to be a bully. That's kind of where I'm at. I would prefer if they weren't a bully and instead were a friend. But I understand that bullying will put you ahead in some cases. So and again, I'm not American, so them bullying people is not helpful for me. So whether or not is helpful for the US, it's probably more likely to be detrimental for me as a Canadian than than him not being bullying. So I think from my perspective, and I mean maybe Andy and some of your other guys are kind of thinking more like from whether or not Trump is doing a good job for America. But I'm really kind of seeing it from like the Canadian perspective, where I'm like, I think this has not been a particularly great result for us as Canadians. And again, a couple pieces on that. The us becoming a state. And no one that I've spoken to has been like, wow, we should really become a state. You know what I really wanted to do? Become an American state tomorrow. Like, no, I've yet to meet anyone who is actively like, yes, that's what I want. I've met a few people who have been more like, it wouldn't be all bad, but that's not quite the same as an emphatic, happy remark. And with regards to the crypto piece, I mean, there's been a bunch of stuff that's happening. I don't know when it's actually going to kick in. It hasn't really done a whole heck of a lot of news for no. Like it's as Andy, I think you made this expression a lot, whereas like there's a lot of smoke for there to be no fire or something like that. I feel like there's been so much smoke that at this point I'm wondering if someone's got a smoke machine rather than there being a fire. So it's been kind of just rough waiting for this bull run to start. But that's not necessarily Trump's. I know I'm going to blame him a little bit. The tariff timing was very not ideal. So I'll give him some not credit for that. But I mean, I guess as a whole, in my opinion, this has been there's been a lot of there's also just been a lot of, like, I would say, big news points. Like even the plastic straw thing is something where it's like, who cares? Like, I've never gone to sleep thinking about how I need the president of the United States to tell me that I can use a plastic straw over a paper straw. This is just not something that really matters. if they want to say that I can't use a plastic straw, you know, I mean, I'm not really happy about that. But like at the end of the day, it's like all these companies have gone to all the effort to make a supply line for paper straws. Are they going to immediately swap back just because the president said that they should swap back? Like they've built a supply chain for it now. So it doesn't really matter what I think he says on that front. The companies will make the decision at the end of the day, as long as all he's saying is that he's not mandating it one way or the other. But it just feels like news like that is just kind of like it's a complete nothing burger. It's like this is not something I think is something I needed the president to weigh in on. You know?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to Sunil soon, but let me just interject with like a slight counter. So I do believe that the plastic straws thing, it was a Biden directive to actually mandate paper straws. So what he did was like he's not forcing everyone to just use plastic straws, but just he signed an executive order that rescinded like the paper straw ban. So it was like it's the opposite, right? Like it was somebody that wanted to. I don't know to what extent the ban goes, but there was a directive to ban plastic straws in favor of paper straws, and that's what Trump got rid of. And I get what you're saying with like, why does this matter? Like, why does he need to sign an executive order for just like something that's like a non-issue? I tend to disagree with that slightly. Like I understand that it's a non-issue, but it's like a thing with morale, right? Like it's something that a lot of people, even left-leaning people, Democrats who are generally a lot more environmentally conscious, even those people are like, yeah, like those plastic straws really suck, and I would prefer the option to have plastic straws if possible, right? So I just think that it's such a great morale booster, and it's like an indication of like his thought process, right? It's like I'm gonna try to manage the big things, but I'm also not gonna forget about the small things, and keep that in mind. So I don't know if he made a campaign promise at some point. I'm sure he at least mentioned it once or twice before he got elected president, that he was gonna bring back plastic straws. So yeah, I just think you can argue that he was just fulfilling campaign promises to an extent as well, right? So I just think that that's just it's an indication, it's like a signal that he's trying to go in a direction that people wanted him to go, and I think that that's a positive sign.
I just want to say, why did Biden stop us from using plastic straws in the first place? That seems like something else that falls in line in my line of thinking, where it's like, you know, who cares? Why was Biden weighing in on it in the first place? So,
well, from my understanding, there was like a documentary or something that said that the plastic straws get into the oceans and then like they get eaten by turtles, and then they like kill the turtle because like it gets stuck in their digestive tract or whatever. I mean, I'm sure that does happen sometimes, but is it really happening to such a wide scale that it's like wiping out the entire population of like turtles? I don't know, right? And I just think that it's kind of dumb as well, where a lot of companies like those like juice box companies, they have a plastic straw, they have a paper straw, but it's in a plastic like kind of casing, right? Because like it's on the, because when you're drinking a juice box, the straw's on the outside, so to prevent it from getting dirty, they plastic wrap it, and then it's a paper straw, but it's wrapped in plastic, so they're still using plastic. They're just like they just change the straw to paper, and then the paper, it dissolves, it falls apart, it doesn't work. And yeah, it's just kind of something dumb, and I just think that it was another example of Democrats virtue signaling, right? Like they're doing this because it makes them look environmentally friendly and supportive of anti-climate change, the pro recycling kind of directives, but it's just in reality it doesn't move the needle, and it makes everybody's life just a little bit more inconvenient. And again, I get that it's not a big deal, but it's just from like a symbolic point of view. I think it's very important that Trump did this, just as a signal that he's willing to go in that direction. But yeah, I've talked for a long time. Sunil, it's your turn.
I guess I'll start with the negative. Like, yeah, I understand like Canadians have a lot of hurt feelings. And yeah, ideally, America and Trump would treat their allies a lot better. And I guess I do somewhat agree that he's added to some of the market volatility. Personally, I think that markets kind of always at times go through normal liquidity cycles, short term, like 5-6 week cycles, and we kind of needed a cooling off period. So sometimes markets just look for an excuse for that cooling off period. So they're using this as an excuse because like a lot of it comes down to the talking heads. What they say is causing the markets to go up and down, and they're usually just making it up on the spot. So I'm not saying that he hasn't contributed to market volatility with the tariff news. Like it's not good for the markets, but I also just think we needed a cooling off, and we needed a cooling off on Bitcoin and a lot of risk assets. So I think we're going to be back pretty soon. And in terms of the good, like I'm thoroughly entertained. The memes have been excellent, and I think that's been great. I think that's probably my most important point. But I think that from a political point of view, the way he's the theatrics and the memes have like just fed into his base, so his base is very happy. They're very satisfied. So that's good in politics. You got to keep your base happy. In terms of the politics of the opposition, the Democrats just take the bait like they haven't learned anything from 2016. The media just keeps taking the bait, so they just keep playing into Trump's hands. Not only do they've taken the bait, like Canada's taking the bait, Europe's taking the bait, because Trump just tends to ramp it up to 11 every time. And like, he said America's gonna acquire Gaza. He just says crazy things. I think he made that up on the spot. So I mean, the one thing I'll say is that like from a Canadian perspective is don't get too sensitive about it, because he's kind of like, not only is Trump ramping it up to 11 on us, he's ramping it up to 11 on China. He's ramping it up on Europe, and he's also doing it to the U.S. Congress and the United States government. So he's very disruptive. He's like a tornado. I'm one that actually, I guess I'm a little bit opposite to Tristan. I like rocking the boat. So I think that we kind of need to rock the boat in some ways. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on like whether Trump's rocking the boat in a way that's like productive, but if I was to guess, I think like just going back to Geiger Capital and how America has always been a bully, and they always kind of reset the rules every 30 to 50 years of the world. I think that Trump's making an attempt to do that. If I was to guess what he wants out of his allies, is he wants us to focus more on productivity and less on like regulations and climate change and all these things like banning plastic straws. Like I actually think that like the European regulatory framework around like the tech industry and how they've kind of actually tried to like go after tech with the blessing of the Biden administration. I recommend everybody go and watch Mark Andreessen and Lex Friedman. He covers a lot of this stuff really, really thoroughly. But I just think that European regulators, Canadian regulators, the way we've regulated our resources, we've actually increased the cost of not only like our increased the cost on our industry. That means that we're also increasing costs on American and creating a lot of nuance and like the Europeans are creating a lot of nuisances for American like tech companies and stuff. So I think this is Trump's way of saying like, I'm going to smack you around. I'm going to ramp it up to 11, and until you guys agree with my agenda, I'm just going to keep doing it. And he is bullying us. He's a bully. He uses kind of like salesman tactics, and that's just Trump's thing. This is very much the art of the deal. But I do think that like if Trump could actually wake us up and get us out of this like post 2008 sleep that we've had in our economy since the financial crisis, and like we actually focus on productivity across the Western world, it will benefit the United States and it will benefit us. So I really hope we wake up and we don't just take the bait to the point where we're going to just put on retaliatory tariffs and go through weeks to years of turmoil. I don't think that's going to happen. That's not really my expectation. And then, and I'm also kind of interested in some of the policy experiments. Like if Trump does renegotiate NAFTA and opens up for like replacing some income tax with like a VAT, some kind of like export related VAT on selective items, I'm kind of curious to see what that can do, what kind of productivity and positivity that can bring for both the U.S. economy. If it works in the U.S., this kind of taxation strategy might actually work in other countries. So I'm interested. It has to be revenue neutral for it to be like good for the economy. You can't just increase tariffs and not decrease income taxes. If you do that, Tristan's right, that will just increase the cost for American consumers. So if you're going to increase the cost of American consumers, they have to save somewhere else. So I'm just interested in that policy, just kind of nerding out and seeing if that actually makes, if we actually do see a major change in tax regimes around the world. But yeah, most importantly, yeah, he's ramping it up to 11. So we'll see what he does at the end of this month. I'm very entertained. And in terms of the Bitcoin news, I think that for the most part, it's a good setup. I don't like the Ripple having a seat at the table. I just don't see the point of that. I don't really care much about, I care a little bit about stable coins. I don't care much about shit coins. And I just don't, I think that meme coin thing is just kind of annoying at this point, and I'm kind of a Bitcoin maximalist. At the same time, I'm open competition. Yeah, let's compete with all the coins. Let's do it. I don't care. It doesn't scare me. I don't think we're gonna lose or anything. But yeah, it's just a little annoying. It's a distraction. But I think that we've got a good setup, like compared to the last administration where we basically had a soft ban on Bitcoin. Now we don't. I mean, Trump has made it clear he wants a strategic reserve. A lot of state governments in the United States have followed suit, and they've already announced that they're working on their own state strategic reserves, which I think is amazing because I think that's actually more bullish than the national strategic reserve in the near term, because it might take like an act of Congress, and it might take a while to convince Congress to do a strategic Bitcoin reserve. But if the state governments start doing it now, that's really bullish for us because we hold Bitcoin. I also think it's really bullish that they're looking into letting banks custody Bitcoin. That is something that can actually come online quicker than the strategic Bitcoin reserve. It could be a lot less controversial to pass it through the Senate. I'm bullish that Michael Saylor and guys like that are showing, and David Bailey are showing up to the parties, because that means they've got the ear of Trump. So I just think the regulatory landscape is a lot more clear, and I think good times are coming for Bitcoin. It's just, but there is this administrative stuff that has to happen before the U.S. can actually start buying. On terms of the state governments, I'm very disappointed as a Canadian that we, being such an energy-rich country in many different ways, we're not just rich in fossil fuels or rich in hydro or we've got a lot of energy pumping in Canada. We got nuclear power plants in Ontario that have so much energy that we pay the Americans to take our energy off our hands. So like we could just be mining Bitcoin and making our provinces richer. Like a lot of the funding issues around provinces could actually be solved through Bitcoin solutions and Bitcoin strategic reserves. So as a Canadian, I'm just very disappointed that we're probably going to wait years before we have this conversation. And I'm very jealous that we are not having this conversation around Bitcoin in Canada.